I'd like to call the budget workshop of Monday, July 22nd, 2024. It's 3:03 p.m. Can I have the roll call, please?
Kenneth Burgess.
Here.
Charles Proctor.
Here.
Mayor Munson. Here. Lance Smith.
Here.
Jody Wilkerson.
Here.
Matthew Maggard.
Okay.
William Poe.
Oh, no. All right, we have.
You didn't call me.
That's what I
Steve
was wondering.
Spinner.
Here.
Give you the last. He give you the last but not least. All right, we have just the one item, the workshop going over the budget. So whenever
Oh, I see. I thought he said
we're all in
it's muted. It's the go-to.
ready,
Here's
we'll.
the mic.
Jessica's ready. I don't know if the city manager is yet. Okay.
Making sure our audio works for the online listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear us on the go-to now, hopefully? Maybe.
All right, Jessica, I
All right,
guess.
Jessica Carter, Finance Supervisor for the City of Zephyrhills. Today, we'll be doing our first budget workshop for the fiscal year 2025 budget. You do have in the packet capital and the CIP plan, but the PowerPoint, we kind of had, to get all of our notes and stuff together, so that I printed for you in front of you that way. But we will have it on the screen as well. Perfect. Is there a little clicker? It is on the, there it is. All right. Maybe. There we go. All right, so first on the agenda is always the fun topic, ad valorem. So based on the aggregate assessed property value that we got from Pasco County Property Appraiser, we have $568,420,492. That's a lot of numbers.
First number. Billion.
Yes. There's a lot going on out there. So, of course, we always budget 95% of that. So the proposed millage rate is staying the same at the moment. We will discuss that later at City Council tonight, the tentative millage rate. But we are planning on keeping it at, or proposing to keep it at 6.25. So that will bring in an ad valorem revenue of $9,312,497. Sorry.
Not on here.
Oh, double sided.
Tried to save some trees and did double-sided.
Saving trees.
Okay.
And on the next slide, we break down a little bit better for you. This you'll see later as well on the City Council agenda. But this way you can see the different amounts. The rolled bag rate will be 5.9552, which would be an $867,314 increase, but it would be breaking even. So that value there would be, if we did nothing, if we did not increase anything, that's just a given based on, new construction that's out there and home values. But if we go to the 6.25, that will be an increase of $1,306,566, 4.95% increase if we keep
Say
it at
that
the
again, 1 million?
$1,306,566. Now, we did do a couple calculations a little bit farther in case you wanted to increase it, what those projections would be, or if you wanted to lower it, what those projections would be.
1306.
So just kind of wanted to lay it all out there so you could see it, let you know what your options are.
And Jessica, can I just ask a question? On the rollback rate, what that represents is if the same amount we would have collected from last year, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that, obviously, do we know what the increased property values were? What the aggregate increase in property values was?
I did not get that number but, yeah, I don't have that number on the slide. I just have the number, the total that they sent us.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't have the difference to last year.
And
They're in the packet in the millage rate. They show, on the ordinance, they're in the packet.
oh, okay, thank you.
For later.
And then if you're looking at the proposed rate, if you show, it shows a 4.95 increase, and that was a 4.95 increase over the rollback
The
rate?
rollback rate, correct.
Okay.
So last.
Okay.
All right, last year we only brought in $867,000? No.
Oh, saying if we go back to the rollback rate of 5.9552, we would collect $867,314 in ad valorem revenue more than last year. So we'd see an increase in the revenues by $867,000 if we went to the rollback rate. If we stay at 6.25, it'll be, the increased revenues will be 1.3 million more than last year.
All right.
So the rollback rate is go back to the rollback rate, and that's what you would have to earn the same amount of revenue
Last
last
year
year as you did this year. That's the number we needed to be at. But then they calculate in new
increases.
construction and then some
Increased property value?
home sales and homestead exemptions shifting and going away and coming on. So that's what that 867 represents. To stay at the 6.25, the increase in revenue will be $1.3 million.
It's spelled out clearly or differently in the packet.
From the council meeting agenda packet?
But just 1 second.
That's right.
See what I'm trying to tell you. Oh, that's how I do it.
The mill. Yep. Out of.
I'm scrolling through the
giant agenda.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Are you looking at the language or the numbers?
Both.
So that,
Well,
so
wait a
the,
minute now.
the ad valorem says the tax assessor, item 3.1 from the council meeting. It reads the tax assessor has determined the city's total taxable value at $1.5 billion, which is an increase of 220 million over the last year. Of the 220 million, 131 million is attributed to new construction. The city's current millage rate is 6.25. The rollback rate has been calculated to be 5.9552, and then it goes into the table. And at the rollback rate of 5.9, it's $867,000 increase, and at the 6.25, it's $1.3 million increase. That's the memo. And then attached is the, is this the DR 420?
Right, that's 3.1.
Correct.
Yeah, on here, 3.1 is the,
4-1.
it's 4.1. Okay, sorry.
Oh, we pulled it out of the public meeting, the business items. Yeah, sorry, 4.1.
Yeah, because 3.1 is hospital property. All right, it's page 343. Okay, so the current, at 6.25, we'll bring in 1.3 million, basically.
Correct.
More.
More.
Then the rollback rate.
Increase. All right, so, last year you brought in $8 million in ad valorem taxes.
Correct. That is
And
what
so
the
we'll
county
bring
is
in
saying they collected.
9.3 this year. All right, it doesn't show what the rate, all right, so, okay. I know, but what confused me was the way it was written on here. So what, at 5.9552 would bring in 867 more than the 8 million we brought in last
But,
year.
yeah, the
And
top header says increase.
6.25 brings in 1.3 more. Okay.
Correct.
I'm on the same page now. Your budget and all these are going on that number.
What you have in front of you right now, yes, that's what we're plugging in is the 1.3. But all of the revenues have not come in, and you'll see that in a later slide, that all of the revenues have not come in. And so we're assuming we've budgeted everything on the 6.25. Well, let me step that back. What you see in front of you are the capital requests that have come in either through the visioning session with council or staff, department heads have requested. So that's what's put in here. Once we get all of the revenue numbers in and we can see how the revenues and the expenditures line up, then we'll do some massaging. So at this point, I don't know how they mirror each other. So.
I died already. All right, so here's the revenue screen that Billy was just talking about. So we have the property taxes that we propose to bring in at $9,312,497. And then the 5 categories below are numbers that we get from the economic and demographic research. So those are the 5 categories. We've gotten 3 out of the 5 so far. Some of those other categories say they could go into August before we have final numbers. So we are checking daily, refreshing midday, after midday, patiently waiting for those final numbers to come in. So that is where we are so far. Penny for Pasco is showing at 3.9. Municipal revenue sharing and fuel tax is at 907,000. Local government half-cent sales tax is at 1.5, and then we're still waiting on gas tax and communications service tax.
Jessica, could I ask you a question? When you have it like that, do you assume, I mean, for budget purposes, that the gas tax and communication service tax will remain flat for budget, or how do you do that?
So if we, by August 1st, if we don't have these numbers yet for your draft budget, what we'll do is we'll look at last year's and this year's, and we'll do like an average. Based on where we're trending, we can kind of
Okay.
determine where we're going to land instead of waiting for their number. We definitely don't want to leave a 0 in there because that will throw us all off. So we'll do a projection based on what we've gotten in so far this year.
Okay, so you do get, you've got a portion of the year.
Correct.
And then you can kind of extrapolate
Yep.
through the year, and then look at where we were last year, try and draw some type of a increase, or at least get a projection.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, both of those come monthly, so we get those revenues
Okay.
in, so we can easily see how it's trending, and then we can go ahead and factor in what the last couple of months are going to be, and at least have a best guess estimate. We always like it to come in higher, which would always be great, but worst case scenario, we could do a projection. So we don't want to leave it blank.
And really, from a budget or from a revenue standpoint, these are smaller, the smaller the numbers too, so,
Correct.
which is
Correct.
nice.
Yeah, we want to hit the bigger ticket items.
Correct.
So we'll also be looking at utility tax, utility franchise fees, those are some other big ones. And what we'll do is we'll project those ones out based on what we've been getting the last couple months. All right, and then in the past, I've done several slides on like projects that are going on in different departments, but because we have ClearGov and it's pretty and, organized, I decided to just put up a graph on what's spent so far by department, and then printed out the copies for you to look over. It's all broken down by department, so you can see the requests that have come in so far based on your visioning session and staff request. That is in the packet that was on the Civic Clerk website. Did anybody have any questions on anything that they saw in there, didn't see on there?
Are we going into the actual projects
We can.
that you?
Yeah, so this,
Yeah,
so what
'cause
this is this is
I
the
don't have a
front page
question
of
here,
that.
but I have questions on some of the detail one.
You want Jessica to finish the PowerPoint and then
Yeah.
go back to?
Per council member, yeah, and go over.
We can.
Okay.
So this screen here is just the 2025 request. ClearGov does have an option to go out farther. So this year we decided to take that software and take it to the next level and develop a CIP plan. So we did request staff to also request all the way out and project through 2029, which it's not as pretty because it goes farther out, but your spreadsheet that you have here, it does go all the way out through 2029. So we were able to develop, if you can go to the next slide, we were able to develop both plans this year. So obviously the CIP plan will be a living and breathing document that will evolve over time. What prints in the budget book will stay in the budget book, but we can always amend and add as we know projects are coming alive and coming along. We can plug them in all the way up through 2029.
Jessica, on that, is there a revenue side of the CIP also where you can input revenue stream as well?
I believe there is.
Or funding
It does
source,
ask
either
what-
way.
It does ask what fund it's going to be coming out of. It doesn't ask how much, but it does, there's a section in there for what fund you plan on spending it out of, correct?
Yeah, because it'd be nice to kind of have an idea as we project out 5 years where we feel like the money for those projects would be coming from.
Correct,
I believe you can put in multiple funding sources
correct.
as you move forward. So as you plug it in, the city yard, say, you can put in sanitation, utilities, general fund, penny for Pasco, so you can put in multiple funding sources.
And I
the
think
dollar amount with that.
that's the way to do it, because then you can kind of manipulate it as other projects are funded from the same revenue stream, and it gets pretty complex, so it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, so this report here was just by department, but yeah, you can print it 3 ways to Sunday, if that's a good term for it. There was multiple options in there, so we could always run it multiple different ways to see what we're looking at.
Sir, Miss Jessica, I'm just a general question. On a lot of them, like say the airport, it says 42%, CRA 3%. What is that? And then some of them say 0%. What does that mean? Is that what it's up?
On which one? The
What you got right
Previous
here?
slide, previous slide.
Department.
percentages there.
I think it's just,
42%, CRA 3%, fleet maintenance 0.
So that's of the total budget. So like library is only 166,000, but based on a 35,000 or $35 million CIP, that's barely a blimp. It doesn't make even at 1% of the total value. So the numbers, the physical numbers on the side are like the total dollar requests. The percentages are just how much of that 35 million
It's
does that
going
make up
to the total budget.
to the total, yeah.
Okay.
So library, unfortunately, it's probably not even barely a 1%. So it barely touches that, total percentage of the 35 million. No problem. All right, this slide we've seen in the past as we are closing in. It's always a great slide to see sometimes, so I just wanted to make sure it stays fresh. We're almost there to the finish line. So this year for 2025, our payment to Pasco County will be $384,000, give or take. So we are rounding the end. So we're almost there. So I always like to keep this slide in there just so everybody knows that we're almost done.
If the keeps,
That revenue will come back into our stream for, to benefit our residents after we're finished here, yeah.
Correct. And hopefully, based on the projects we've done in the last couple years, several $1 million to sidewalks and all, that those savings have been
Already spent.
reallocated into other areas, so we have definitely been improving our capital area and have a lot more projects going on to help make up some of that savings. So it is turning around and going back into the community, hopefully.
Jessica, it says we owe 384,000 and some change on 2025, and then I noticed it's 176, but then the last one is 226. Does that just pay off the whole thing?
Correct. Yeah, so for them, because they go to November,
How
our
do we
payment
decide
is-
what number to go by? We dropped from 3-something to 176.
So
What was the reason?
part of the negotiations that occurred, the county laid out these numbers, and it has to do with their financing and, or their budgeting and their depreciation of equipment. I have no idea why it goes 176 to 226, other than that's the way they're mathed. Doesn't make sense to me, but.
I would have thought the last payment would have been the least, but
Right. We tried to just have them combine 26 and 27, but they wouldn't allow us to do that. So, because it'd have been close to the 384. So,
No problem. Yeah, I'm sure it has to do with fiscal years, how their fiscal year ends, and when we sign the contract, it probably overlaps, probably try to prorate or something, like, it's, just to wrap up a final payment. All right, and then the next slide. We did have some new personnel requests. We have 2 new patrol officers, 2 new utility service workers in water, 3 utility service workers in wastewater, an additional meter reader, parks maintenance worker 3 and parks maintenance worker 2. That's mainly, they want to restructurize over in parks, so by adding these positions, they kind of create leads for the different divisions, and so essentially, once they kind of restructure, they'll have openings down below for just park maintenance 1, but this is to help them kind of restructure their, so they are getting 2 new parks maintenance workers. And airport maintenance specialist, circulation clerk, for the library.
Oh, okay.
While we're on that, I just have a quick question. Do our circulation statistics support another full-time person or part-time person? And how do we, do we have increased visitor trips? Do we have a way of tracking that?
Yes, I can get that. I don't have it on me.
Okay.
I know we get an average the last 3 months, 4,500 visits. In the last 3 months was the average.
And that is, compared to last year, might have been, okay, thanks.
and just to, before we step off of that one, there's been a request, part of the visioning session was to try to open up the depot in the museum that's there. So we had a conversation, Peggy and I had a conversation with the circulation clerk that they would be able to have a staff member that's there, and we'll have to work through that just because of putting, I'll say, a single female at that location by themselves. We need to look at some things. But part of the addition of the circulation clerk would help to address having that, having the depot open, on a schedule.
And that generates revenue. The depot generates revenue through rentals, so that helps offset that additional cost. Okay, thanks.
We also have an IT specialist, sanitation driver, senior code inspector, part-time HR clerk, and then 2 reclasses requests for the deputy city clerk down to assistant city clerk, and then assistant finance supervisor to assistant finance director.
Can you explain probably why we need a new meter reader? Aren't our meters really automatically read and?
Yes, but we have so much data that we have to go through, not just one person can do it.
Oh, you only have 1 meter reader now?
Well, I have Mike and I have.
John, come up to the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, John Bostic, Utilities Director. Yeah, the meter reader we have is because we have so many new customers and so many more meters in the ground. There's so much data that's coming in, 2 people can't take care of it. We have Mike and I can't remember the other guy's name. Trey, thank you, the new hire. We just don't have the time to get it all where we need to be.
But the meters are still read automatically off of the, okay. All right. That was really my question. Okay.
Actually, we just added a new repeater, didn't we? Two new repeaters. So just so the council understands, you may already, and if you do, I apologize. But all the meters are AMIs, so automatic, or AMRs, right? Automatic meter readers. But there's repeaters throughout the city, collectors that collect the data as the heads or the meters shoot the information, the repeaters collect it and then push it into City Hall. So that's, as the city grows, we're gonna have to continue to add those readers or collectors.
And other IT specialists
Yes. Yeah,
in addition to,
if Mike is on, I don't know if Mike, can you speak to this or no? Sorry, Mike's online for this meeting, and then he'll be back this evening. So there is a, there was a study that was done, I believe it's by Pasco County, and I can get that to the council, based on the numbers, our employees and things. It shows that we should have 6 IT employees. We currently have 3. If we add a 4th one, Mike feels that we're good with 4 because we do outsource some things to Infotech and some other organizations or other entities that we don't need the full 6. But based on that report, it shows that we should have 6. Plus, some of the numbers are a little skewed because not everybody, they may have, not every employee has full computer access. They just have email access instead of, the access that Jessica and myself and, department heads have. So, but yeah, there's data to back that one up.
Well, I was talking to Mike the other day, and I mean, with the amount of, with all you guys buying me gift cards, by the way, that got that email or text message or whatever it was.
They're still waiting on the gift cards.
Yeah, I know, I'm still waiting on, but it's, as we go forward, it's almost gonna be a full-time job for one person just to combat all that stuff that's coming at us all the time anyways.
Right.
With phishing attempts and spam and whatever happened the other, last Friday. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that we have to really keep a close guard against.
yeah, I have one more question. Senior code inspector. So that's in addition to Joel and Mike?
That is.
Joel and Mike are on code enforcement, so senior code inspector would be like what Calvin was, his position. So next year, the building department will have some people retiring, so that department will be restructuring, and so essentially that'll open up this position back open. Calvin's old position will open back up again. So they want to bring somebody in the meantime, try to get them trained before all the retirements happen and people leave, and then they restructure.
This one's not necessarily an additional person. Budgeting wise, yes, it is. But as
It's just
Jessica was saying,
overlap.
Bill's leaving in January, Calvin's taking over. The goal is to try to hire,
That position been advertised?
what's that?
Advertised Bill's position?
So that was the way we did that, is we advertised it. We filled it as a deputy with the intent for that deputy to be promoted into the building official at the time of vacancy. And so Calvin was selected as the deputy building official, and will slide into building official in, I believe it's the end of January, beginning of February. And then Calvin's position becomes vacant. So what we'd like to do is advertise in October for a code inspector to fill Calvin's position, hopefully before Bill leaves. So
You don't
it's
have to
overall-
advertise the building official position, even if you're filling it in-house like we have done in other positions?
is the way we advertised it. Same way you did with the deputy city manager.
Okay, and then what is Gene's position?
Public
Gene is the-
safety inspector?
Yeah. That being refilled, it's not vacant.
Hiring?
I don't know that answer.
I have not heard, but
He's a senior,
I think it's public safety inspector.
public safety inspector. So that department could have a lot going on in the next couple months, so even though it's not another physical body, this position is at least slotted, so that way they can, if they didn't have it slotted, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to hire anybody in until everybody left. So by putting it in there and leaving the other position vacant, at least gives them somebody to hopefully train before
There's-
they restructure.
Right, so there, succession planning, which is always better because then we're not stuck, in a situation where we don't have the ideal candidate.
So what'll happen as well is Calvin, the deputy building official position will fall off the books. So it will not be filled.
Correct.
Well, you can't advertise till October 1st for any of these positions anyways, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, it may take a couple months to even fill that position, so it should work
Right.
out all right.
Can I ask a question about the HR clerk? Right now, do we have 3 people in HR?
3.
So I guess what's the function of the new part-time clerk? And is there, like you said, the IT, there's how many in Pasco County? 6? Like, how does that?
Pasco County is saying that we needed 6.
6, okay.
Yeah, sorry, for
Okay,
IT.
And it's a
Yeah, I don't know
function of
what
the
Pasco-
number of employees you
Okay.
have, and it'd probably be the same.
Correct.
for
So, yeah, and I
HR.
guess
Yeah.
what would the same function or the same ratio for HR be roughly?
Actually, I think it's actually about 5 per, depending on the complexity of the HR department, which we also do risk as well. So a lot of other organizations have their own risk department. It's separate from HR. So we actually combine our department as in one. So this would actually help for, a numerous amount of things, performance evaluations, training in-house. There's a few things that you all have asked for that would assist us in doing that and utilizing that extra part-time person, maybe a 25-hour, 30-hour, no more than 30 hours to assist with that as well. And we also have some current functions that we would like to be more proactive on instead of reactive, so that would assist us doing that.
Okay, and you just touched on something that I'm very interested in, the performance evaluations. Are we currently doing those annual on all the employees?
Not all departments.
Okay.
Not yet. We are working on some other caveats, meaning some systems we're looking into to make sure that they're effective as well.
And I just think those are very important to create communication between both employee and their department manager. I feel it's real important because stuff builds up if not, and maybe the expectation that the lead person is thinking is not the same as the employee. So I just feel, I don't look at that as, oh, you're going to the principal's office. I look at it as an opportunity for good communication.
And it's
So-
a good training, and I think that comes along with maybe a training program that we're also working on, as well as a software platform that we've been looking into. So we're hoping to narrow that down in the coming year as well. So that will help also with the performance. So it kind of ties in with one another.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The job evaluations or position employee evaluations? Those are including department heads as well?
That again?
Yeah, yes, we would like to include all employees regardless if they're department heads as well. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I just have one question on a part-time, there's no benefits? What
There would not be any
No benefits, just
If
an
they're under-
hourly
Below
employee.
30
Okay.
hours, there's no benefits.
Okay. Tony, go.
Looks at the department heads. Who reviews the department heads?
City manager.
Oh,
That
okay.
right there.
Okay. Oh. Got it. Duh. Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Waiting to the end, trying.
So, we decided to just, for pay raises, since it's still a discussion topic, we decided to plug in 1%, just to let you know what 1% rippled through would look like. Now, the current salaries does include all the benefits. So that includes health insurance, FRS, that includes workers' comp, all of the benefits tie into that. So when we say 1% pay raise, that's obviously just on salaries. So if you were to do 1% of that number, you would be like, well, that doesn't quite add up. Well, we don't do 1% increases on health insurance because that number stays the same and that's locked in. So just wanted to throw that out there if you were crunching the numbers and it might look a little different. But that's out the door, all the benefits for the employees. So health insurance, FRS, and workers' comp.
Just as an example, if we were to say, as an example, we'll give a 3% pay raise, annual pay raise. That would be 63, in general fund, it would be 63,000 times 3.
Correct.
And all the way down.
Correct.
Okay, and 4, 5, whatever, it
Correct.
seems so true.
That's why we thought, well, we'll at least give you 1%, kind of gives you a rough estimate.
And then you can,
Correct. And then I'll look at, I'm
100
also
grand
going to try to look at approving this slide a little bit better for you. I think ClearGov can give me, you know, a better breakdown if I dig a little bit deeper.
Clarifies it a lot better.
It might break, yeah, might break down the benefits outside of the salaries, so.
so the current salary, I'm just going to use general fund, is $12,480,000. That includes the, everything.
Correct.
So, okay, so you're just adding 63,000 to that, to the pay raise to get to the, no.
Correct.
You would add that, and that, then you end up with the 12.5 million for the.
Correct.
The 63 is solely salary.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, but like I said, if you're looking at it and you're doing the
Right.
math, you're like, well, that doesn't quite add up. Well, that's because we didn't do 1% on the health insurance and all that.
Right.
And also on the union, so the PD union has their step plan. So they will essentially on their anniversary date, jump up to the next step on their step plan. So they did not get a 1% on here either unless they renegotiate their union step plan rates. So keep that in mind, that is just strictly all non-union personnel.
Oh, okay.
Could I?
General fund doesn't include PD.
I mean, it does, just not at 1%.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
because they have their step plans.
Right,
So
right.
they fall wherever their step plan falls based on their anniversary date, but we didn't do 1% on that step plan rate because they do already have about a 2 to 3% increase between each step already as it is.
Right, is the PD automatic now, or do you still have to renegotiate?
I believe they still renegotiate every
We're
year.
negotiating.
And I think they're out
We have
there.
negotiation Wednesday afternoon.
So that's as of today. What I know is what's in here
Okay,
right now. It's
okay.
always subject to change. Of course, as union negotiations go on, that could always change.
I have a quick question. The 6% raise that we implemented a few months ago, has that and all of the increases to get to the minimum wage, $15 an hour, whatever that, has all of that been implemented now? Because I know we were implementing it over time.
All of that has been implemented except for the individuals that are, the police officers that have not reached their anniversary date. So once they reach those anniversary dates, and I couldn't tell you how many are left, then the plan will be fully implemented.
Yeah, these numbers here, I've been keeping up with them in ClearGov as every payroll, when there's changes up, down, left, right, benefits added, benefits taken away. I keep up with it in ClearGov, so this is as of today, what people are making out there, so I'm trying to keep up to date as changes, so that way our numbers are as accurate as possible when we go to do projections.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, when we talk about looking at raises, I mean, is there any model, and I say this because the people that are making, just say, and I don't know, 35 to 50,000, again, when we give them a 1% raise, it's not near as significant to somebody earning more. Is there a way we can somehow bottom load, if you understand what I'm saying,
Give them a different percentage
the
versus.
raises? I mean, is there any model or anything you've seen that does something like that? And the reason I say that, because I mean, if you earned, you could almost have a step in the raise or do a flat amount, one of the two, because I just know that 3% of $35,000 isn't near as much as 3% of 70,000, And I don't know. I know it's really difficult right now. And those people have families that they're trying to raise, and it's just difficult. I didn't know if anything like that could be looked at.
So ClearGov has a great program called Scenarios. So I can go in there and I can say, okay, what's 1%? What's 2%, 3%, 4%? What is maybe 3% on 10/1 and 2% on April 1? It does allow me to do it that way as well. Now, of course, if I log in and I say 1%, that's easier, right? But it does also allow me to break down, and I can see employee by employee and manually make those adjustments. So if there was
Yeah,
We could come up with a list, and if you wanted to kind of crunch that.
You
I could
export
go-
that
I
to
could
a
go to those
spreadsheet,
employees.
that can be exported to a spreadsheet, and then you can manipulate the numbers and just see what it would do.
I think the cleanest would be, if we were looking at that, would be to do a flat rate, X amount to each employee.
Like a bonus almost.
Right, and the reason being is, we've worked, part of the last salary study we did was to fight compression. And if we start changing, if you're at, I don't know, let's say 30,000, you get 5%, and if you're at 40,000, you get 3%, and down the road, or down the line, start
pinching it down.
pinching everybody together, and then we're right back to what we just tried to fix. So I think, without doing a whole lot of research, I think the solution to your concern, it would have to be a flat rate of, here's the amount of money we're giving across the board. Or it's a percentage, everyone gets, X percent, and if you're under this amount, you get a bonus of, I don't know, $500 or $1,000, of, Y, set that amount.
Right.
I don't know.
Just to offer kind of a counter viewpoint.
Sure.
It is true that, the more you make, the higher the percentage you'll realize. But the higher position, generally speaking, has more responsibility, as maybe a supervisor looking over somebody, where somebody else is coming in and doing a specific job. So sometimes, if you're talking about maybe giving, and everybody deserves a fair pay, but if you're looking at giving lower employees, paid employees, a higher percentage rate than higher paid employees, it's almost like you're not paying the higher paid employee for their supervisory, their knowledge, maybe their college, all those things, and they're almost being penalized.
Sure.
A workforce is a balancing act, but jobs have, that's why we did the salary survey, is jobs are placed within pay grades that they determine positions are worth these amounts. So
Sure.
I think there's a counter proposal to that a little bit, where it's not just, it's not just one point of view, I guess.
Yeah, I understand. I get that.
So here's another point of view, and that is that when we look at the ad valorem taxes now, and we look at the value of real estate today, we already see the slowing of sales. So there's still 1,200 people a day moving to Florida, but the reality is that not so many are moving here anymore because the housing costs have gotten kind of out of control. So if we have any kind of flattening or reduction of the general fund, the ad valorem cost, then we've committed to a 1% increase, but over time, the ad valorem may not keep up with that over the next 5 to 7 years, for example. So the advantage of doing a one-time bonus, per se, helps reward those people who are working hard every day and offset some of the costs related to inflation without committing our taxpayers to an ongoing expense. Just another point of view.
Well, that brings up another point then. Are you saying a one-time payment that doesn't go into the salary and then next year accrue and get paid? Because that's usually what happens with the bonus. It doesn't go into the salary and it just stays. And if that was happening, then you're capping employees off at a certain rate. And I don't think we want to do that.
Didn't we talk last year about doing kind of a combination where maybe not as high a percentage of a raise, but
flat amount?
everybody
Yeah.
got?
That, I think, would be more
Because I
fair.
think- Yeah. right.
Because then the top people would still get something to recognize their authorities or their contributions, and yet the lower paid positions would still get an extra compensation. So I think that would be more fair.
That hybrid
If you
is the
did a
way.
hybrid system.
I like that.
I wouldn't favor, personally, just everybody getting the same or balance, Otherwise, like Billy said, then you start messing with the question in the salary survey, and people are moving up in their pay grades and others aren't, and then.
When we give raises, is there any type of cost of living or anything? Is anything factored in? Because even, I mean, if you think about it, if we give 3%, in other words, it starts compounding each year. You get 3%, there's a compounding effect, and that's the compression. But is there any type of CPI index that's used, or? No. So, okay.
I mean, in the short time that I've been here, it's been a salary study, and then it's just been raises. It's kind of
Right.
like the COLA and all that stuff has
Be-
all been,
Because at some
added
point,
in there,
even
but
what,
that-
no matter what the percentage raise is, you get the compression, no matter what, right? I mean, because it's just numbers, it's all math. So, I mean, and then we get to do a salary study again, which everybody really likes. No, Melly, you don't like it?
Well, you have to do those every so many years
Sure,
anyway.
sure.
I mean,
I understand
you're not
that.
going to get away from that.
But
You
yeah, that's
could do a
plugged in the
CIP.
CIP for 2 years from now, I think, or 3
Yeah.
years to get it done.
So no matter what, you're always fighting compression. You're always fighting, and the market forces that cause our employees to go other places.
Correct. Well, if we continue to give raises and everyone gets the same raise, compression should not occur because there
Don't
should be a
they
little bit of
top out, though, at
separation.
some point?
So that is one of the issues is that they can potentially top out. Once they top out, now you have people catching them. Yeah.
So, I mean,
You have to
it
look
is
at
a
that on
struggle.
Salaries are a
It's
great-
always a
great
struggle.
topic.
Yeah. But they're important, too.
No,
They're very important.
exactly, yeah.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, about 180, about 185, so, yeah.
Open question?
That does
That's
include
total, yeah, total employees.
Oh, I know. Billy,
No, it increased, but,
Billy, when someone tops out, so
Correct.
if they top out at whatever their rate is, if everyone else gets a raise, then they don't get a raise?
so what they get is if they top out, whatever, you know, their salary is, right? And then employees, say they're at $50,000, council approves a 3% raise, they would get a 3% bonus. So whatever their,
3% bonus of their total pay for a
Correct.
year?
But it
Yep.
doesn't, it's not,
but it doesn't,
one-time
it stays at 50, it's
longevity
just a
pay.
one-time,
55,000, 50, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They still make 50.
correct, yeah, so easy math, if they're making 50, council approves a 10% raise, they would get $5,000 bonus in a check, and then the next year,
At 50.
their salary's at 50, and whatever council gives as a, you know, if they give 20% raise, then they get $10,000. Sorry, I can't do the 2 and 3 and 4%, so.
Almost like,
I don't know how much I like the fact that once they top out, then they don't get any more except for a bonus.
well.
Well, that's,
because
I
the
mean, that's
job is
part of,
only worth so much.
that's
I
the
mean,
part of the
you
problem.
could-
And they shouldn't top out. I mean, if we give raises and we do salary studies, and you stay in the same position for your entire career, you're going to top out.
But General, how many years does that take? Isn't it like
It
upwards of
really,
25?
it really depends on the percentages that are given.
Oh, okay.
You know, if we give 3%, you know, it takes a little bit longer. If we give, you know, mix in a 4 and a 5% along the way, you know, it goes a little bit quicker. Salary studies will change that too, because then you can shift, you know, if the top end shifts, it takes a little bit longer. So for instance, I think prior to the salary study, we had 6 or 7, maybe 5, 6, 7, 4 or 5, okay, employees that were topped out. With the last salary study, I don't believe anybody was. There was a couple, or one, that was, you know, so it'll change, so it's, and if you're changing positions, you know, chances are you don't be, you're gonna get topped out a little bit further down your career or later in your career. Correct.
Topping out late.
Yep.
Correct.
Thanks.
The other line on here was.
Can I just be clear real quick, because I think I heard something, and I just want to make sure. For everybody that's in the room, we're not proposing a 1% pay increase. This is just for mathematical and illustration purposes. At 1%, that's what it would cost. So we're not proposing 1% raise. So
how many employees do we have?
about 185.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to reiterate that.
Billy had also discussed maybe, you know, what it would cost if we delayed hiring all of these positions until January 1st. That would be a savings of $332,000. So, I mean, we have options where we could delay hiring new hires to offset costs, or start everybody on 10/1 and hope we can hire everybody right away. I mean, we have options for cost savings there in that aspect. So,
You can even do some where you hire somebody in April if you're doing 2 or 3 where you can't get them all online at the one time. I mean, it'll happen organically. I mean, it'll just happen that way, so you'll save money.
correct. Yeah, so ClearGov has the option where I could say, oh, October 1 or January 1 or April 1, and it prorates. So it drops all of that savings off, and then, so those are all savings that we could gain if needed as we start crunching the numbers.
I think we kind of demonstrated, like, using the building department again, that Billy retired in January and things changed then. So, I mean, if it takes a couple months, but then the police officers, he may need them like right now. So, I mean, I think
Correct.
I think each department or whatever job that we're looking at could
They could all
determine
vary.
on whether,
But even the police department, if he has vacancies and bringing people on and then hiring new people, he can't get them all on there.
Oh, it'll be January before we fill them all
yeah.
anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Well, and the reality with the PD, and I know Chief and I've worked on this, remember we had 5 positions last year, and we kind of delayed things because of the salary study. So those 5 positions, those new positions are open, plus I think there's two other positions? 3 others. So we have a total of 8 positions. 3 of them were previously filled, the other 5 are not. So we're, should this be approved, we have 2 additional positions, and we can have a conversation, because the reality of one, hiring 8 people at one time, but then also being able to train them on the shifts, we need to stagger, those hires. So again, it may be that these 2 are added, but they're not added, budgeted for until April, so, or a time down the road.
Correct.
Yep.
Every department is different, but yeah, there's, I can't have 10 people at the PD all at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'd have-
I was saying, you sweating over there.
You got 2 trainees per shift. I don't know that the shifts,
Nice if
they
you
might
could.
like having the extra bodies out there, but trying to train 2 people at the same time, if it happens, it happens, but try to plan for it a little bit better than that.
We review the meeting schedule and then go back to individual questions.
Yep. So August 1st, Billy we'll have a draft budget in your hands for you guys to review. Then we can continue on with additional budget workshops as needed, or as you guys have questions, or as you would like. We can schedule those on the fly. September 9th will be our final millage and tentative budget first reading, and then September 23rd will be our final reading. So those are our tentative dates right now. We looked, they don't look to or overlap with the Pasco County School Board or Pasco County Government. In the past, we've always got bumped because we can't have it on the same night, but so far, it looks like we are not overlapping at all, so we get to keep our normal schedule.
If I could just interject, August 1st is when staff has to have a tentative budget to council. One of the issues I see is back on like slide 2 or 3, it was the EDR, the revenues. On their website, it says revenues will be July, August. So there's a potential we won't know the real numbers, and we'll talk about how we do that. Are we going to project higher? Do we just keep it the same, keep it flat? But I just wanted that maybe a little asterisk in the budget until we get that figured
Those are
out.
pretty relatively small numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, that was when I ran out to grab
In
something.
that
Yeah,
first
we already
budget,
talked
are
about
you
that.
going to make a
We got it figured
recommendation?
out.
Sorry.
In that budget draft, are you going to make a recommendation on the salaries?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I don't feel comfortable making a recommendation right now because
No, I'm not asking for it now.
No. I'm just saying the reason it's not right now is the revenues, we actually talked about it this morning. So up till today, we didn't know what the revenues were. So to make any type of projection, I didn't feel that's responsible. So yes, in the budget, you'll have something in there.
Very good.
And ClearGov, I know Councilman Smith has looked at it online, but ClearGov does have a transparency webpage that is online, and that gets updated quarterly, so any of our citizens can go there. They can see our current revenues up through June 30th. They can see our current expenditures. They can see our current projects, what was budgeted, what's been spent so far. Some staff has, added pictures and stuff on there, so they can see what the current track of the project is. So just wanted to throw it out there, that we are trying to, if you want to let your citizens know, if you get questions, we are trying to be open and transparent, and it's all on the website. It can be looked at any time.
So that they just go to the website and type in ClearGov? Is that, I've never seen it.
Kevin still has it as a little bubble.
A little bubble, okay.
If you scroll down the page, there should be a square, I
It
think.
says like budget.
I think
maybe
it says
2024
budget on it.
maybe.
Okay.
Click on that, and then you look for projects, I think is the title. Each of those you click on.
I do, on the projects page, I do try to keep like the high dollar projects. I'm not gonna track, a $10,000 pothole repair. So I do try to keep it with the higher dollar items, but if there's a project that you maybe are getting several calls on, that maybe you want me to add, and so that way it's open to the public, feel free to shoot me an email. I don't mind adding it. It's just, a couple clicks. But just wanted to throw it out there. If you're getting lots of calls on certain things, I don't mind adding it, so that way it's out there and you can direct your citizens to the webpage if needed.
And if you haven't looked at it, take a look at it, because it's really good. It tracks projects. I mean, it's good. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad the city's doing that.
Okay, on the capital improvement items, there's 99 of them. And I mean, did you guys, everyone have a chance to look at them and maybe have questions on some? Or do you want Jessica or Billy or whoever to go down the list and just, I mean, if we do that, we want to do it fairly quickly, but which way would you guys prefer it?
I'd like to go through, I have items, so I think it'd be easier if we just kind of touch our date.
To do what?
I think it'd be easier if we just do our questions.
Just do questions instead of going through, like airport requests and admin requests. Okay, well, that's fine. And that I had gone through and I actually had already talked with Billy about a few of my questions, so, so let's just do it that way then. We'll just start, and we'll start with you, Steve, if you're ready, and then.
Right, I have a question in the airport. We've included the terminal building at $5 million, but we don't have the funding for that, and that's probably not going to happen next year?
So we're working, trying to reappropriate some monies, the state appropriation dollars. So we have it in there with the understanding that if we can't reappropriate, then it will not happen.
All right. Under streets, I see, I'm glad you put $1 million in the hotspot. And how much did we put in for this year?
Put $1 million in for this year.
Will that carry over? Because we haven't spent any, have we?
So we walked we drove the hot spots with Kimley Horn last Wednesday, and so they're working on a proposal or task orders for those intersections. So I don't know what that cost is going to be. So if directed by council, we can take, if we get those task orders in and it's $800,000, we can roll 200 over, or I guess the direction would be from council is to roll over any funds that are not utilized this year and increase this $1 million. A few of the intersections, and I don't recall which ones, there needs to be an analysis and then discussion. Some of the intersections we looked at, it could be as simple as restriping, maybe adding a little bit of asphalt. So if that's the case, Kimley Horn's proposal would be to move forward with the design and get that to us so that we have that ready to go. But like I said, some of the projects, I don't remember which intersections it was, they would have to do an analysis and then from that, figure out what the options are and create a design from that.
Right, so there'll be $1 million, but there's the potential for more.
Right.
All right.
If we roll it over.
What is a rough terrain forklift telehandler?
A rough terrain forklift telehandler is a forklift that can go like off-road, so to speak. So a forklift that can get out into the grass.
Okay, we already
and then
have
it
one,
could
we're
go
just
out.
replacing it. It looks
yes.
like, yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
yes.
All right. And then in streets, Pretty Pond and Wire Road Roundabout, $1 million. Is that going to happen this coming year?
That's the plan.
To build it in the year, the design and build?
So the design is underway. The Metro has Hamilton Engineering designing that. So that design should be done soon. We've been on, I say we, Todd's been on Hamilton Engineering for a while, trying to get that completed. But the plan is to have that out to bid and construction started during this fiscal year, or this upcoming fiscal year. Now, the $1 million, we have, there's a development that has some transportation funds that are 300, I don't know the dollar amounts, I'm sorry, but some of the projects, Summit View Apartments, they're supposed to contribute into it. So that $1 million really at this point is a guess. We're hoping it's much less than that, but we've not gone out to bid, and we don't have, the design's not complete to have an engineer's estimate at this time. So, and we're gonna, sorry, if I can, we're gonna try to get Pasco County to contribute because they do have 3 of the 4 legs. So that'll be a conversation that we have moving forward.
Metro's contribution is the design. That's it, right?
For that intersection, yes.
Okay. Under parks, you have $2 million for the city yard building construction. Have we approved that yet?
We haven't. We're currently going through the CMAR. I think they have interviews on Wednesday. But what we're doing is we're plugging money into it each fiscal year so that if it is approved, there's a funding source in place. And if it's not approved, those funds can be moved to whatever council wants it to be.
And those funding sources will come to us as you present the,
Yeah, right now, I believe it's being taken out of Penny for Pasco.
Penny for Pasco, utilities and sanitation.
Yeah, so it's like a 60,
Shared cost.
yeah, because it's in the,
60, 30, 10.
it's in the master plan, I mean, the capital improvement plan too, for quite a few years, so.
Yeah, we just added $1 million each year until we have, if we're gonna do financing, whether, those
Yeah,
are debt
you have-
service payments, or if those funds are gonna go towards construction, and we're at least trying to budget some money set aside till we get a game plan.
We have 18 million budgeted for it in the 5-year plan, so, okay. We have a couple things in here, like building improvement parks. Is that the parks building at the city yard?
So that's really a placeholder. AC unit goes down, roof gets ripped off. I know this was Councilman Burgess's, Council President Burgess's question earlier today was sanitation.
Yeah, because all the budget, there was money in there, I didn't want to duplicate or.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really a placeholder, should something break. God forbid the AC unit goes out, the roof gets ripped off. There's dollars in there that they can utilize to do those repairs. But we're not doing repairs that will be, the intent is not to be counterproductive to the design of the new facility.
Right.
Yeah.
You have money in here, $2.5 million for improvements to parks as indicated in the master plan, which we don't have yet, but.
Correct.
Where will that money come from? I'm glad it's in there, but.
$2 million from Penny for Pasco, and at the moment, if the numbers are, after I crunch the numbers, $500,000 from park impact fees. So that'll be 2.5. So
Okay.
that's tentative at the moment as we continue to crunch the revenues.
Okay.
So the intent on that is we put it, and I know Councilwoman Wilkerson and I spoke today as well on this, is that $2.5 million is a pot of money because we don't have the master plan, it's not completed yet. Once we get that, we can have a workshop or meeting to discuss and rank the projects and decide, does all of it go to one park at one time? Does it go to multiple parks? And what the priority of improvements are. So we'll circle back to that during next fiscal year.
All right, and I see you have money in there for the depot parking lot and improvements at Veterans, so that'll be done outside of the master plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the parking lot at the depot parking lot is not paved currently. It is a dirt, well, I guess not dirt, it's like crushed rock, lime rock. And then I was trying to get back in shape, and I went out and ran at Veterans, and that path needs to be repaved.
Okay.
I only ran that one day, so Shane
Think of
asked me to
some
quit
other
running.
places. I'll give you some ideas for some other places you can run. and
Okay.
I got a few on
They
here.
got to be short distances. I can't make it real
All
far.
right, under utility billing, you have reworked the utility customer service area. In this document, you had $50,000, but I saw
On the CIP?
in the CIP, it's $200,000.
So next year, we're hoping to do like design and engineering, get some construction documents done, and completely rework the customer service area. And then we're hoping in 2026 to proceed and act on those construction documents.
Right, so these are the plans or the,
Correct.
okay. Now, are you going to incorporate that little room there that we built for customers to talk and
So
probably
far,
never use?
some of the looks that we were liking were kind of like turning the waiting room this way. So when you walk in, there'll be 2 additional little conference rooms to the left that could be used for city staff or for us to sit with customers. And then you'll have the glass with the 3 customer service workstations, but then you'll be able to see all the way into the room. Right now, you look at the wall and you have to go around the wall, that little conference room, before you can see anybody that's in the back. So that kind of turns and eliminates the wall and just makes it one big open.
You're going to incorporate that into
Yes.
use that space?
Correct.
All right, because it's not
Correct.
really used now.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what
So, yeah, now that we've been in here several years, it just, the flow and with the, adding the additional staff,
Okay,
it can
yeah.
use a better flow.
Okay. In the CRA, you're going to renovate Clock Plaza. What's that going to incorporate? It says complete redesign. Tear down the thing and tear out the bricks and,
That is correct. Well, completely renovate it. That means taking everything out and redoing it. I don't know that we'll take out the bathrooms, but the rest of it will be a complete redesign.
and then I had mentioned this to Billy in the CRA. When we had talked about doing that, what'd you call that corner there?
The backyard?
Yeah, the backyard. We had talked about doing improvements to the alley and lights and bricks.
Yes.
Is that in the works?
Yes, we are in, first the drainage has to be done, and when they are redoing the drainage, we'll do the improvements as well.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, then I have a question on human resources. In a couple of years, you're going to spend $30,000 on a, we've
Salary
outgrown
study?
this building already, haven't we?
Wait, what's the question?
$30,000 in 2017 for HR.
That'll be for the next salary study
That's the
coming up.
salary
Oh,
study.
that's the salary study,
Yeah.
okay. And then, under streets, you have citywide walks and trails, 200,000, 200,000, 100, blah, blah. Does that include Sixth Avenue, Airport Road? And I've talked to you about Lincoln Heights, I still think.
I'm sorry, where are you looking at? Oh, that, okay. I'm sorry, okay.
So I believe we left
So-
it open for just any sidewalks and trails as, not only do we have a,
So where we are is the question, all right, sorry, I was looking at something else. So the question on sidewalks and trails, we budgeted dollars this year. We currently, in the fiscal year we're sitting in now, we're doing a survey of Sixth Avenue and Airport Road to look at those sidewalks. So at the visioning session, the question was about sidewalks connecting Lincoln Heights and Otis Moody. So we're currently doing currently doing surveys along Sixth Avenue from the railroad tracks east to Otis Moody and south along Airport Road to Lincoln Heights. So it will potentially, this funding will potentially include design and construction based on what the surveys tell us.
Okay.
because there's concern that there's not enough right-of-way along the corridor for a sidewalk. But once we get the survey, we'll know that for sure or not.
Work around that somehow, okay. The one last thing I have is, I have been kind of involved with the YMCA. We have a, I don't know how long the contract is with them, 30 years, Billy, 25?
I'm sorry.
Contract with the YMCA, 25 years, or?
How long have we been in contract with them, or how many more
New
years?
contract, how many years? It's 25 years, I think?
Yeah, it's 20 or 25 years.
Okay. And we agree to pay them $40,000 a year for their scholarship programs. You can pass it.
Okay, all right.
I met with the district director the other day. Over the last couple of years, they have spent they've spent $347,000 in improvements to the building. And I'd like to recommend, and this will come later probably in the other portion when we see the whole budget, I imagine. But I'd like to recommend we give them an additional $5,000 or $10,000 to the scholarship funds. I also have a report on what they do with the swimming, the summer camp, and different things like that. So maybe when we do the next workshop, after we see the whole budget, we can talk about maybe increasing their donation. But this is just a spreadsheet they sent me, and I can get you a copy of the scholarship money they spend. I didn't bring that.
It's all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Well, Councilman
Can
Spina
I
asked
just
most all of my
interject real
questions.
quick, just something to think, just real quick? Maybe with that extra donation to the Y, if it's approved, maybe something to think about before we have the conversation on it, is maybe they can increase some swimming lessons to city residents, or during the summer rec program, when we bring them there, they can do swim lessons for the kids who can't swim. And that's a, justification of the increased scholarship
I'll
dollars.
bring the scholarship fund. I forgot that. Oh, wait, I might have that, actually. But anyway, I'd have to make copies for you. But I'll get you that, and, yeah, we can talk about those. I do have it. Okay, so they gave out $2,300 in swim lessons scholarship, about $1,400 in sports drafts, $7,600 in summer camp, and their total amount of scholarship money to the East Pasco area, the Y, was $75,000. $5,000 of that's Dade City, so we could deduct that off. And so I'll get you this so you can see more of what we do. But the swimming lessons is really important, so if we could tie it into doing something with our camp, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, like I said, Councilman Spina asked a lot of the questions I was going to ask, but I do have a few. On the building improvements for the parks, is $10,000 going to be enough, and what exactly are we improving?
Well, right now, according to Shane, it's just a placeholder in case something was to happen. Like if something breaks out there, they need a new air conditioner. They're not out there to knock down a wall and make their break room bigger or anything like that, because we aren't going to be improving the city yard in the future. So it doesn't contradict the future plan.
I just thought it seemed low, but anyway, thank you. And also on park improvements, we have $2,500,000 for this year. Do we have any money left from last year? Have we spent all the money that we put in for last year for the parks?
I don't believe so. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, I'd like to know how much we have total
We can do that.
on the parks. We put in $2,500,000, but I'm
That's for
wondering,
the master plan.
but I'm wondering how much we had left over from
Yeah,
last year.
we can do a budget run.
Okay.
Or,
You haven't
check the
spent
budget.
hardly anything in parks in the last 2 fiscal years.
Oh, we just
You're
spent
doing
100,
Cruise and Field, the shelter,
right.
but you haven't done any other park improvements, have you?
Work at Gunner
To work at
Park.
Gunner Park.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us do I can tell you exactly what's in there,
Okay.
what's left once
No worries.
Jessica or somebody will have to run the numbers. I don't know how to do it.
And
but
it
I'll
says
get you
here,
the number.
renovations for historic buildings. What historic buildings are we talking about?
Four historic
Exactly.
buildings that we have are Depot, Jeffries, Barracks, and Women's Club.
That's if something,
We do. I don't know exactly what the contract is, so I'll have to review that.
And building improvements and for the streets, 25,000?
Same thing, same answer as the parks. So the 25 for sanitation, or excuse me, sanitation, streets and parks, it's all the same thing.
Fleet has got 25,000, so it's 25,000 building improvements, $10,000 from parks, sanitation is $20,000, and fleet is $25,000.
Correct. So those are all placeholders that God, like I said, if something were to happen, AC goes out, I don't know, roof comes off, a lift breaks, something like that, then we have a fund that we can pull from to make those improvements and not have to come back to council and do a budget amendment. So, but, right, yeah, it's there, yeah, if it's not needed, it will not be expended, or it will not be expended.
Then I do have a question about the CRA requests. Land acquisition, what land are we talking about in particular?
So we don't have a piece specific, but it's if there is land that becomes available that we feel we need to purchase for whatever
We're
reason.
just setting that aside in case something that we need
Correct.
comes along?
Correct. So for instance, if you remember, we purchased the Hunt House, Frank Hunt's house on 8th Street. We purchased the Whitworth House on 11th Street. So those types of properties, if they become available.
And we can use it for retention or parking or other
Correct.
kinds of things, right? Yeah.
All right, thank you, that's all I have.
So, Councilman Spina brought up the city yard allocation for $2 million. Now, I understand that's for the actual design and construction of the city yard improvements. And then, in addition to that, we talked about each department had put a little placeholder in there, so that money set aside, so you explained that adequately. We talked about the library. Do the circulation statistics and visitor trips support the addition of a city circulation clerk, whether that needs to be full-time or part-time? But when you talk about the fact that we're going to maybe be open in the depot, that really explains why we need that, because I think that we're underutilizing the depot. The other thing is the airport, that was first on the list. It appears that the city's entire investment is about $1 million. It's $200,000 for T-hangers and the runway improvements of $840,000. But the budget is $17 million, and most of that's grant money, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's really such a great benefit to us. Regarding parks and facilities maintenance under that category, historic buildings. So we put this magic number of $100,000 there, but I know that that Hunter is working on a contributing structure, an inventory of contributing structures. This historic building, we really need to have a work plan. Where our responsibility to be good stewards of these buildings, the Depot Museum, the Barracks Museum, the Women's Club. The Women's Club does a great job of raising their own funds and doing taking very good care of that structure. But when they need a new roof, that's on us. And when they needed improvements for ADA, that was on us. So that is, I think it's important we have a work plan, and that we, when we talked about the depot, the museum itself, we saw evidence of water leaks and things like that, and we just really want to make sure that we're preserving those buildings. It needs love. The carpet's old. It's gross. It'd be nice to being able to open to show folks that facility, and we rent this facility, so it needs to look its best. So the work plan is what I've really asked for, because I think we need to have some money set aside to purchase a building that might become derelict, or something that has some importance to our historical, the history of our community, that we should have a little money set aside to purchase a building that becomes available or falls derelict that we can preserve. And repurpose, like we did the Jeffries House. The streets and parks, I just want to ask about a traffic sign printer. So isn't it less money to outsource that?
You don't know what this sign printer can do.
Okay, well, I need to know. Those are pretty cool things, yeah.
Good afternoon, Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. Our sign machine that we currently have is approximately 20 years old and is antiquated, but it gives us the ability to next day service a sign. If we have a, say, name placard sign goes down, gets hit by a car, we can make that sign and replace it possibly the same day or the next day. If we order one, there might be a 4 to 6 week lead time. And we order the blanks, but we make our own signs custom. So we went to the city of Lakeland and looked at their sign shop and looked at this particular printer. And it's going to give us the ability to also help out our PIO, Kevin, where we can print things that we didn't have the ability to do with what we have now.
It's more than just street signs. Street signs in the sense as 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue and 2nd Street, things like that. It's the
No parking.
no parking signs, all the stuff.
Yield signs, it'll print anything.
Multicolored.
It's really about safety. We need it because if there's a stop sign down, we need to replace it the same day. And we might have some inventory, but, you know, the reality is that that's a safety issue. So that answers that question. Thank you very much.
Okay.
The other thing, while I have you up here, on our park improvements, I know we have money left over. We know we have, why don't we use that low-hanging fruit? You know that, you know, the slide has been carved up at Zephyr Park. I think that the Parks Department should be able to pick up the phone and call a retail operation and say, you know, for $3,000, bring us a new slide, because this is not safe for the children of our community. So I know we have some low-hanging fruit. I'd like to see us spend that money by year end if we can, by the end of the fiscal year. Because we know you know what needs to be done, and for you to have to go through the process, it's not, you know.
We've been in a little bit of a limbo because of the park's master plan, that we don't want to go out and, say, replace an $80,000 playground unit now, and then the park's master plan comes back and says, well, that should probably be relocated and put at a different location. So we've been in a little bit of a limbo on that. But if it's a safety hazard, we take care of it stat.
I have one thing, just since you're here and I'm thinking of it. There's no signs, street signs on the new portion of Dairy Road that go out to Cossack Road. There's no street sign that says Dairy Road. Just
It's okay. It's on the other side of Dairy Road.
right, but there's not one down at Cossack Road either.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll look at that. Cossack's County.
It doesn't say Dairy Road on the other side. So if I'm driving down Cossack Road and I see this road here, I might not know it's Dairy Road and will take me to 54.
Okay, we'll look at that and print one on our new sign printer, hopefully.
Well, hopefully you can do it before then. I know you're, but.
Just a couple more things. When I recently spoke to Chief Brewer, I talked to him about a flashing sign speed sensor for South Avenue. So we have one on 20th Street, we have one on North Avenue, we have one, at other locations kind of around the older part of downtown. I have a elderly resident. They live on the corner, they say that people fly up and down South Avenue. And I asked, could we get one of those signs between 17th and 19th Streets on South Avenue? So the chief doesn't really have the money in the budget, and he talked about, some traffic calming, other things that we can do too. I'd like to see us put money in the budget for that and get it done this year, because I think it's just consistent throughout. But if there's something that Public Works can contribute or can do in addition, like striping across the roads to create crosswalk there, that would be great.
I read her mind. If you look under the Streets Department,
Yeah.
there's $25,000 in there for traffic safety improvements.
That's a new line item.
And
That's
here
a new line item. But Chief and I did talk about, you can go on, that sign, and they're about $8,000. So we can look at that. But some of the conversations that we've had with MPO recently, there's some striping that can be done. I mean, well, we've done it on several streets already where you stripe the edge line in white and the center lines in yellow, kind of pare things down a little bit. On Dairy Road, we have quotes already for striping to create bike lanes to try to narrow those lanes down. But then they also have some, and I can't explain it, but striping that you put around curves to give the appearance that the lane is shrinking, so they slow down. So we did put money in this upcoming budget for some of those things, to do some striping when they come up like this. Sorry, go ahead.
Derek Brewer, Police Chief. Just wanted to let you know, if our study comes back that there is an issue and that this flashing speed sign is effective, I'd be more than happy to put that in my budget.
Okay, great.
And then just kind of an update of what we're looking at. There was a concern that was raised with Public Works regarding crosswalk on Simons. I know we have one at the tennis center, but to the south, Abbott Square's entrance, their southern entrance, there was a question about a crosswalk being installed there. So I believe we're working on getting quotes to have that constructed or designed, so we can get quotes. Yep.
Well, and I just was out there this past weekend and noticed that they had put in the ADA access for Ripple Road and Bar S Trail. So, so the folks who are wheelchair bound or sight limited, they can now cross the street to go to the mail. But still, there's no wheelchair access to the mailboxes. So they're still working on that.
Yep.
Then lastly, I have a CRA question. Ms. Hamilton, so we have sign ordinances for the CRA.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that we implemented them early when we did the traditional neighborhood development. So they've been around for a long time, 15 years or more. When I look around town, particularly in the historic district, I'm seeing that folks are not compliant with those signs. If we're going to have grant monies available, which it looks like we've got $1,000 set aside, I would like to, we know that a really nice sign is a lot more expensive than that. And I would really like to see us encourage existing building owners to revisit their signs and give them an opportunity to apply for that grant money, because we've spent all this money to, beautify the downtown and have these special signs and special light posts and benches and everything, and then we have this mismatched signage. One example in particular is the FOE letters that are on the Fraternal Order of Elks building. They're not compliant with any of our and so I'm afraid that what's happening is they're coming, merchants are coming and they're applying for a sign permit and it's not going to the CRA for review. So I just want to make sure that we have that in place and that folks are aware that we have those regard.
And I will tell you that as part of the CRA master plan, we are updating the design standards, which include the signage, because yes, we have noticed that. And I do hear a lot from merchants that say $1,000 is not enough. Well, $1,000 is really $2,000 because they have to match it. And so if it's 500 and we give 500, then it's 1,000. So I'd like, one of the things that our consultants are doing is putting together a group of sign companies, people from graphic designers that will help us come up with some ideas for signage and a way to create the design standards that we can alleviate some of the issues that we're having, or hopefully. So I think it'll be a dialogue between the merchants and the CRA, but I love the idea of offering it to existing businesses and say, this isn't working. Let's start from the beginning. And we have the money, the CRA can fund it to the point where we can make it reasonable for them.
So at this point, if you decide to keep it at $1,000 for the grant limitation, I'm okay with that. It's just that maybe we take the advice of some of those sign companies you talk about, kind of the average cost of one of those signs that are suspended from the canopy, for example. Thank you. Okay. I have nothing further.
No, Gail, never mind. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was, I don't know how much money we've put in the budget for training the employees. Because there's some things that I think we need to take the next step on. I think we're scratching the surface of our program that we're using. I mean, I think we should be taking building permits online. I think we've got to start moving to that. I mean, and I know nobody likes change. I get it. I don't like it. But every time I do it, I'm like, why didn't I do that 2 years ago? You know, so it's just like that budget you put together. It's so good, and I bet we're just scratching the surface of it, you know. So I would encourage everybody to get out of your comfort zone. Let's embrace technology. It's coming. I don't care what anybody does. We can't stop it. So let's embrace it, and let's spend the money. Let's train our people to be able to utilize it. It'll make them better. It'll make us all better. And if we don't like it, you retire if you don't want to, you know. So, but the other thing I wanted to ask was, I know we have the trail sidewalk. I think I had asked for those two to be split up so that we have some money for trail, because what's happening now, it's the sidewalk fund. So I would like us to budget specific dollars for trail, because if we don't, we've got a trail map established. If we don't do it and start at least saying, okay, we're going to do these segments, we're never going to get there. Okay. And then the other thing I was going to ask, because I think I had to ask about some bus shelters, and I just didn't see it in there, and I didn't know where we were on that.
That's not in there.
So
That way we missed that one.
So,
I believe we were also thinking about reaching out to Pasco County, you know, public transportation and see,
Yeah,
since it is their bus stop, you know, bus stops technically, if we could work together somehow, so.
Did we put money in there? Because I know, sorry.
That's all right.
Side conversation.
That's fine.
Because we budgeted, we talked about us doing or proposing to do the landings or the pads, and then working with Pasco to put in the shelters.
We do have 50,000 in operational budget right now
Not in,
for bus stops.
okay, yes.
And
So
we
I
put
ju-
it in operational because
yeah,
it may be a partner with Pasco County.
That's-
since it is
that's
theirs, so
good.
We'll just kind of,
As long as-
donation to them to kind of help partner with them.
as long as it's there, because I saw a couple people standing out there the other day waiting for a bus, and they were roasting, man. So,
Yeah, so we have it on our side, and then hopes that we have good talks with Pasco.
and I think we can partner, and I love the idea of partnering with Pasco County on this, on the hotspots, everything, because that leverages our dollars, and they like it too. That so they're budgeting right now, so we need to kind of start hitting them up some, let them know, hey, think about this, put some money, earmark some money for these things. We can have the dialogue right now before they get their budget done. But that's the only things that I have. I thought that as presented, it looked pretty good.
Okay. Before I get to the mayor, I just got a couple quick ones. Most everything got covered, but on the police, the drone, the money for that drone, and I know it's going to be a nice one. Is there money in that for training too? Because they have to be licensed, and I'm sure we want more than one person to be able to do it.
we're going to get them a airport
Derek
pilot's
Brewer, Police
license.
Chief. We are in the process of negotiating a joint task force with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, so they will do all the training, the record keeping, maintenance, as far as we just got to buy the drone. And,
Oh, really? Okay.
We already
And
have,
maintain it.
we already have some licensed pilots, but again, Sheriff's Office is going to do all the training.
Okay, well, that's
Hey, Chief,
great.
do we put a tracker on that thing so when it loses connection with the controller, we can find it?
Like an air tag.
Like an air tag it? Can we
Air
air
tag
tag
it.
that drone?
I believe it's not supposed to
Okay,
leave sight of the operator.
okay, all right.
Okay, thanks, Derek.
Private joke, I guess.
And then on the airport stuff, and so we've got a lot of grants that we're able to take advantage of through the years, and I guess what I want to know is where are we at on what do we know of Skydive City, the purchase or whatever? Because I mean, I believe there's
Yeah, so what we know on
funding
Skydive
could
City,
be-
where we are currently, Nathan and I met with Kyle, Kyle S. Last Monday, about 2 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago now. My understanding is hopefully August 1st, But we've been told back from April to now, it's like every other month they're ready to sell or ready to close. So August 1st is what we're hoping, that they'll have their sale done. We met with them about a security plan, about the relocation of the RV park, so that they could keep the RV park, but it would be on the, east side of Skydive Lane. And so that would all have to be, obviously, we have to agree to it, and then we have to send it to the FAA for their approval. For the park to be on that other side, we would have to have an ALP change, and FAA would have to agree to redesignate the east side of Skydive Lane from aeronautical to non-aeronautical. We're not real convinced that that's going to happen, but we're hopeful. And so that's the direction we're working. So we have the agreement. There's a little bit of language, the subordination clause that we have to flush out with Matt, hopefully tomorrow. And then we just need to look at their security plan that they submitted to us. I think, I'll say there was a misunderstanding about who was going to do what in that security plan with the fencing. We thought Skydive City was doing it, and the proposal that they sent to us on Monday or last week shows the city doing that fencing. So we'll have to have a conversation around that, and then we told FAA we would have a response back to them August 1st, so next Thursday.
All right, yeah, because I know that, that potentially could influence some of the grant funding that we get.
That would release about $225,000 a year from the FAA once we get out of their crosshairs.
Okay.
So.
All right, and that's all I really had. So, Mayor, I'll go to you on.
I just had a couple of things when Councilman Lance, when you talked about separating out the sidewalks and the trails, I don't want to see us doing less than $1 million on sidewalks because just because that has been one of the key issues from our residents in this historic area is that they don't have sidewalks. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page on that, right? No?
I don't mind as long as there's money allocated in a
Yeah,
separate
I agree.
item for trails.
No, I think it should be two separate things. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be less than, so we may have to add some things for a trail in there, was my point being made. And then the only other thing I had is when we had the safety committee meeting here about a month ago, and we had FDOT representatives, we had MPO, we had county, we had the whole crew. There's a bunch of them. There is funding through FDOT for these road calming measures and for like what you're talking about, those signage. They said that it's a pretty easy process and they are wanting us to use that money. So I don't know who looks into that, if it's somebody on our staff, but there's money out there to where maybe we didn't have to take it out of the $8,000 of his budget and put it on them. So,
maybe it doesn't matter if the data doesn't support it. It's something that,
so
is
they look
a
on it
safety issue.
as a total safety thing. And so there was, you go on their website, you fill it in, because that was one of the things we talked immensely about on Geiger Road. And so we're going to look for some of those on that road. So I'm not sure who looks into that, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. And
Can I piggyback off of that real quick? Because I can't remember if I told council this or not, but at that same MPO meeting, I told the MPO that council, we have funding in the budget, and my belief was that council would be supportive of using sidewalk funds to partner with Wire Road to get the sidewalk fund done there, or sidewalk done there, and Geiger Road if needed. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of what I said to the MPO, so.
Yeah, and those emails have been going back and forth, and it looks like a positive that it's actually coming forward, and they haven't asked for our money at this moment.
Oh, they will.
But they will. I'm sure
They
they
won't
will,
forget
but we made it really clear that those two were very important sidewalks for sure. So everything else kind of got hit that I was worried about on here, so I'm okay.
You have anything to add, Billy, or?
No, sir, I do not.
Well, Jessica, thank you for the presentation. That it was laid out, everything that was here was laid out real nice and easy to kind of go through instead of trying to hunt for it. So that helped. And then I think we hit on pretty much all of a lot of us had the same concerns. So
Yes. All right, I do need something.
oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Somebody's brain's working today. I've had a lot of individual conversations with the council about park property on the northern end, specifically being Pretty Pond and Wire Road, the northwest corner of Pretty Pond and Wire Road. The asking price on that is $4.8 million. The appraisal that was done by the property owner came in at 4.8. The appraisal that the city did was 4.5. And so I don't know if we want to have a separate workshop or if we want to talk about it now as part of the budget process. Are we interested in purchasing that 12 acres at that corner for the appraised price of 4.8? That's what they're asking for. Do we want to look at other properties that are north of that and a potential partnership with Pasco County? A couple years ago, Pasco County, we met with the Parks and Recs director, and they were looking at this area, the potential of building an indoor facility similar to what was built at the Wesley Chapel District Park out there. So it's a one-court facility with like an office space and a little classroom setting. But I just want to kind of get some direction from council, if we can get it today. If not, schedule something else to talk about. Are we interested in that or not? Because of the property owner is eager for an answer of, hey, yes, you're interested. Let's have let's continue the conversation, or no, we're not interested, and they move forward with whatever they're going to do. If they're going to continue with construction or not.
Can I voice, I'm not on council, so I'm just going to carefully say this as much as I can carefully say this. $4 million for a piece of land out there that 2 years ago was $200,000. 5 years ago was, if it puts our projects for our other parks on hold, that is going to be a big concern for our citizens, that we're popping $4 million for a piece of land, and then we're talking, they have been in this council chambers over and over and over again, talking about the importance of Zephyr Park, and that is our park. That is our park that has been here since I was a child, since before everyone in here was born. That is our park for Zephyrhills that these people know and love. And if it means that that park doesn't get done for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, that's a big issue for me, and I know it's a big issue for our citizens. So I'm trying to say that in a kind way, but that's my 2 cents.
Would that affect the money for other parks?
I think it's a conversation we'd have to have. Because we only have so many dollars.
That's what I'm saying. It would
So we would
probably
have to look at it.
But you talked about potential working with the county, because obviously East Side Parks, they have Sam Pasco, some Little League fields and a few soccer fields. And then we have, next place is Wesley Chapel, all the way out there on Boyette Road.
My assumption, and I've not had the conversation, but I don't know that Pasco would partner with us on 12 acres.
It would have to be a bigger.
I think it would have to be something much bigger.
Right,
I
right.
mean, like at the Wesley Chapel, and I assume everybody has seen that. That's multiple fields, multiple football fields, multiple soccer / lacrosse, multiple softball and baseball. You know, and I don't know what we could fit on there, but at 12 acres, you know, you might fit 4 or 5 baseball fields, maybe. I don't know, but my gut tells me that Pasco probably would not partner with us on that location, just because of the size. And it's
Right.
not more, you know, it's not a regional impact.
I basically agree with the mayor. You know, the county's approving or put on a ballot for approve a park fee, a tax fee. And I mentioned something to Commissioner Oakley about it and said, we're not, you know, people over here aren't going to get much money of it. And he said, well, you got San Pasco Park, which, you know, compared to what is out there, you know, we're going to be paying that tax and we're not going to be seeing any result of it. So I think that I would rather, I think we need to focus on what we have, really. But if we're going to go further north and look at something with the county, I would be in favor of that. I don't think I'm in favor of this corner.
I feel the same way. Why would we want to take that land off the tax rolls, especially when we've been talking about fixing Zephyr Park for almost a decade, and it seems like we're going nowhere with it. We've spent a fortune on these people to tell us what we're going to do with it, and that money would have gone well into new playground equipment or whatever. So I'm definitely against buying that property.
I don't have a strong feeling either way. I think that I am hesitant to take it off the tax roll. I do want to say, though, that if we did purchase that property, that there would be no townhomes built there. And
Apartments.
And all, or apartments, and all the other residential properties around there with children would be able to utilize that space. But it's pretty close to Hercules Park, and I'm not sure that that's the right spot. So for me, I'm probably a no.
I don't have an appetite for it. I think that that's a fair price, what they're asking based on the units, but I don't have an appetite for it, you know.
So I think you have your consensus.
I've got a consensus.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know I've been a little bit passionate. I've talked to you guys all about that, but I just.
Value your opinions, yeah.
I hear these people talk to me, so.
Okay. So that was the thing that was added on. Jessica, again, thank you for what you put together here.
Good job.
Worked
Good
out
job,
real well.
We're not, you know, butchered.
I thought Nathan wanted to.
Well, it was her and Nathan, they were in a close fight on which
Yeah,
one got to present it.
Speaking in public, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anybody in council have anything to add at the budget workshop? Do we have comments from anyone in the audience? All right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Just so council knows, there are snacks and refreshments in
I
the
was just going to say, we
break
got 10
room.
minutes to run to the McDonald's to get a $6.
I didn't grab any hot food because we didn't know when things would end, but there are chips and, look at this, a whole assortment of things.
Just so I know.
Yeah, this is cost